Hey, welcome to Doodleable for episode 3 of the Quick Doodles. This one was actually the first fan suggestion. By fan suggestion, I mean I asked one of the very few people who I sort of test showed footage to of the first and second videos what I should draw. I think it was my dad who actually suggested that I draw a spaceman. So here I am, drawing a spaceman. I started with the helmet because I thought that that was probably the most easily distinguishable piece of the spaceman. And I struggled a little bit to think about what might go in a drawing of a spaceman, because just Googling for astronauts and spacemen, it gave a very broad range of different subjects. And there were some with this big sort of jetpack backpack thing, whatever the outside of vehicle mobility backpack is called. Some of them had the tether cord, some of them had nothing at all. And so I was really thinking that it might just be up to me to figure something out. So I did start with the big jetpack backpack thing because I thought that those were pretty cool additions to the piece. It could be, I mean, it is big. It's just a big box on his back, but it does take up a little bit of space and makes it a little bit more interactive. He's not just floating there. I gave him a little patch on his arm there. I was toying with little additions to the vest and his suit. He's got, that sort of up-armored, whatever life support vest thing is. And the suit was supposed to be really puffy. So anyway, I was piecing together little bits of this drawing. But as you'll notice, it snowballs because I kept being I should maybe add in this little bit, and maybe add in this little bit, and I need to resize this, and the clothing would fold like this, so it was snowballing a little bit away from me, but I still very much enjoyed it, because it was a little bit different, because I didn't get to draw the goofy little faces that I usually do. He had a full helmet, so no dots for eyes and single line for mouth. But anyway. So yeah, I was, as you've probably noticed, there were a lot of little try it, delete it, move it, resize it, figure out if it'll work. I messed with the idea of some tubing that runs behind it, out of his vest and into the life support backpack. I haven't come up with a good name for it yet, so feel free to, actually, if you know what those are called, then let me know in the comments. But I figured that would house more than just a little bit of fuel for for moving around in space, so I did put these tubes running from different parts of the suit up to that backpack. But yeah, no, it was definitely a lot of fun, because, and I say that every drawing, but I think you can just tell that I like drawing. It definitely was one of those pieces that was something I hadn't done before, because this is, like I said, erring a little bit more towards the realistic, and it's very clearly a doodle still. It's not photoreal, but it was good to go a little outside of my comfort zone. Yeah, talking a little bit more about inspiration for it. I did do a good amount, as I go over it with the official lines, make my clean do-over. I definitely looked at a lot of pictures of spacemen before I started drawing. I do try to have some sort of reference for whichever piece I draw, because it really does help, even if it's a doodle and it's not going to look anything like the photoreal version. it definitely helps to have something to go off of. So I had, as I was drawing this, an entire sort of, first I Googled movies that I had remembered, like The Martian and Interstellar. I was wondering what the suits looked like, but then I realized that it might just do me better to just Google astronaut and see what types of stuff came up. And that actually gave me a whole slew of funny little things that would more fit a doodleable drawing than just a still from a movie. That being said, I did try to at least keep a little bit of the like movie touches, because a lot of the generic Spacemen didn't have anything like a patch or something. They were surprisingly just like gray suit and nothing by way of color, which you'll see I still I struggled to find ways to give this thing color, but the patch was not something that I had seen in my quick Google search, so I decided to add that in. I also sped this one up a lot. Same with the cowboy. These were two quick doodles that ended up taking me a pretty long time. I also was insistent with myself on making a little bit of background. So yeah, I re-angled him because I was thinking about, at this point, all right, what am I going to do for a background? Am I going to put him in some sort of space scene? I feel like I had to, because those are not super complicated. So we'll get back to that later when I start drawing it. But I did just color the whole... Alright, so this was something interesting that I did, and I'll try to explain it. I did just color the whole thing as gray, because I knew I'd be using a lot of grays and whites and dark grays, because that's basically the color palette of the quintessential Spaceman. So I just color the whole thing in the same kind of medium tone gray, somewhat light gray. And then I put this blue behind him so that I would know where I colored outside the lines, because the gray was close to the white background. Once I had finished with that, I think you saw I started like touching it up a tiny bit. And then now I just took a darker gray and started thinking about, well, what do I want to accent on this piece? So I didn't want it all to be that one just boring medium color gray, so I took a couple darker grays, actually no lighter grays, just darker grays, and I touched up a couple pieces, and I tried up a couple different ideas of what I wanted to make which colors. I didn't like linger too long on which colors I picked, because I figured that the shading would affect it and basically change the shade of gray, because all I do is add in a not fully opaque white or black to shade it. So kind of just gave it enough that you could tell that it wasn't just one color. And yeah, I think that I'm getting close to the part where I start to resize, resize, twist him again, and now I think I start with the shading. Yep. I tried to go, I keep saying this every single video, but I tried to go even more aggressive with the color than I had in previous videos, because I figured in space, it's whatever it is, it's very dramatic. There's going to be very bright whites and very dark blacks. So I tried to keep that theme going forward. And I also noticed that on this very light gray color, it wouldn't really show to only do a very transparent white. So I made sure to leave it a decent amount opaque. It was also kind of funny because I'd been thinking about this. Almost all of my drawings have a lighted from the top right type lighting, and I have no reason for it other than that I'm familiar with it and comfortable with it. And so even something as little as changing it to orient around light reflecting from what you'll see is a moon to the bottom right of the image, that really was, it was a dramatic shift for me. And it it was a fun challenge, and yeah, because I think that it's nice to pick something in every drawing to log as a skill that I've practiced. So in most of these, I'll understand that I'm getting better at my line work right out of the gate. I'll get better at my my shading, my coloring, all that. But like doing something a little bit different, like picking a different direction from the lighting for the lighting, can accomplish that too. This drawing did get away from me a little bit with the details. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier, but so it did end up taking me a while for getting that color to look right. But I think I thought I had it. So I started going in again and just polishing up the sides a tiny bit, because I noticed I colored outside the lines a little on a decent amount of it. And then, yeah, I basically just went through and I started like dotting in a bunch of stars and changed the color and went in with a yellow and changed the color again and went in with a light blue. And I actually thought that looked like a pretty understandable and recognizable night sky. And then I added a couple of these like little spirals in, because not everything is just a dot or a slight dash. And then I did those, and you'll notice I put a little bit of a sunburst behind it so that it could like look like one of those washed out stars. Then I made the nice big moon, and I put in the corner a little bit more, filled in the space that it was in. And yeah, there it is. Put the little spray paint behind my stars, and there it was. And in the final product, I put a little couple stars in his helmet reflector too. So super happy with it. And I'm super happy that you guys were here to watch. And thank you all for coming. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.